Namaste, Semanti ji. Welcome
Namaste.
to this episode of Kahi Suni. And in this episode, we will talk about Dharmaraj. And first of all, let me congratulate you on the release of your second book in this trilogy. And first book was The Rise of Dharma, and the second book is Trials of Dharma. And have you decided the title of the third book, or you have to
Yes, yes,
still think about it?
yes. That is triumph of dharma.
Triumph of Dharma. So yeah,
Yes,
so this is a well set up trilogy.
yes,
And my first question to you, Semanti ji, is first tell us about what I mean about your background and what brought you into writing, and especially writing about Yudhishthir, or writing Mahabharat from the perspective of Yudhishthir.
Well, first of all, many thanks for inviting me here. And for your question, I want to say that one thing is very obvious, and that is Yudhishthira has been my favorite character from Mahabharata since childhood. When I first started reading the Mahabharata first, when I was just a school student, but at that time I never thought that I would end up writing something about him, especially something as big as a book or even a trilogy. I had no idea about that. I just liked him, liked his characteristics and all. But then when I grew up, I found that there are not many published works on him. Not many books, not many published works, be it fiction, non-fiction, any research article. No, very few works are there about him. So then I thought, why not I try something about my favorite character to write? That is one reason. Another reason is that his common public image in most of the people's mind. What I found is very unfortunately, what I found that is, if you ask any random person who Yudhishthira is to you, mostly you will find the answer that oh, Yudhishthira, he was a gambler. He is the one who gambled away his kingdom, his family, his wife. He was the person, he was the callous husband who silently watched his wife being humiliated, being assaulted. He did no protest about that. And also the worthless king who mainly depended on his brother's skills and abilities. He did earn nothing for himself. His throne, his kingdom, even his wife, some said that earned by his brother's abilities and not by himself. So this is the common impression in people's mind regarding him. Whenever his name comes, people see an image of some callous, some stupid king, some worthless king who is undeserving. So that was something triggered me, and I thought to address this issue because I thought, is my favorite character so bad? Really so bad? If he was really so bad, then why would Sri Krishna support him? Why would the rishis, all the sages would support him even after his huge downfall during the dice game? Why would the rishis support him? Because we see in the exile that all the rishis, even the author of Mahabharata himself, he is also coming to him, he is supporting him, they are sympathizing with him. So why would that happen if he was really so bad? So initially it was my effort to find the answer that who Yudhishthira really is. And then I decided that when I find the answers, I should also let people know who he was. So from there, my idea of the trilogy came. So thus it began. Many years ago, I started for the Rise of Dharma. So then, after a lot of research work, like 5 years, 5 plus years, I published my first book. And first book was published at 2020. Paperback came at 2021. Now at 3rd March, I released this second one.
So, did you plan it like a trilogy, or when you started writing, or it ended up becoming a trilogy through the journey?
No, I planned it as a trilogy from the beginning.
Okay. So you already knew that the rise and trials and triumph, that these are the three chapters that you need to cover, and in this kind of segmentation. One thing very interesting is that, as you rightly pointed out, that Yudhishthir's character is not well understood, and one of the reasons is that people actually don't read Mahabharata. They get the understanding of Mahabharata by multiple retellings. They have probably read some novels about it, or they would have probably watched some TV serials about it. But not many people have read it, because if they read it, on one side they say that Yudhishthir is the tree of dharma, while Duryodhan
Yes,
is the tree of adharma, right?
Adharma.
So it is very unambiguous in as far as Mahabharata is concerned. So Vedavyas has literally removed that ambiguity by mentioning this, and this is not mentioned once. This is mentioned fewer times. I mean, two three times in Mahabharata,
Two, three
where
times.
they talk about Yudhishthir being the trunk, I mean, the tree of the Dharma, Arjun, Bhim, and
Trunk being the trunk.
Bhim the
Bhima
trunk.
is the
Yeah,
branches. Bhima is the branches. The twins Nakula and Sahadeva are the flowers and fruits. And
correct.
Sri Krishna himself is the root of this tree of Dharma.
Correct. So, if Sri Krishna himself is the root of this
Root.
tree, which is
Yes.
Yudhishthir, how can he be a bad character, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
one thing is very interesting, that people judge him only by his one folly.
One.
Correct. And this is very strange. While there are, and one more point, that as you rightly pointed out, that there is a lot of literature, later retellings that have happened from various other characters' point of view. But it looks like everybody wants to carry the flags of the fallen. Nobody actually is interested in the victor. They are writing about Karn, they are writing about Draupadi's perspective. There are some retellings from Duryodhan's perspective also. However, I have never come across a retelling from Yudhishthir's perspective, and I think that is one of the most important perspective, because it's Yudhishthir, through him Mahabharata establishes itself as a dharma granth, right? Because most of the knowledge about dharma comes through Yudhishthir, or the conversations the Yudhishthir is having, right? While the Gita is between Sri Krishna and Arjun, but apart from that, most of the dharma comes through Yudhishthir and his conversation with various other characters. So I'm glad that you have picked up this task, and I am very happy about it. The next question that I have is that, you said that he was your favorite character growing up. What made him your favorite character? I mean, wow, yeah, what particular traits, qualities that you admire and that you think everybody should become like him?
Well, so first of all, I could connect to his truthfulness and honesty, of course. And another thing, very few notice, that is, he is a very kind and compassionate king. Like, what makes him actually, what gives him actually the Ajata Shatru or the Dharmaraj tag. So that is his characteristics which I admire. You will I'm just giving a very small example, like the famous encounter with Lord Dharma in disguise, where his four brothers were falling dead, and he is answering his questions and bringing back their lives. After that, when Lord is asking that, son, you ask for some boon, then he is asking, first he is praying for that their safety and their well-being and their safe spending of 1 year, the next 1 year, which was very crucial. And there was a crisis, like at any time they could have been, their identity could have been revealed. And so he is asking that, so that no one can recognize us in the next year. That was for all. The father is granting the wish to his son, but then the father is wishing that the son asks something for himself. So he's ready to give the boon for the for Yudhishthira to get the get something for himself. Then he is asking, son, you ask one more. Then Yudhishthira is asking what? At that point, what he could not ask for himself. He could ask his throne back, he could ask his kingdom, his Indraprastha back, he could ask his lost empire back, anything. He could change his life completely by asking just a single boon. But he did not. He did not ask anything for himself. What did he ask? He asked that, Father, you give me back that Brahmin's lost firewood, for which the Brahmin came to him, asking for that firewood. So even after so many struggles to save his family, he did not forget that Brahmin. So that is something, one of the main things that attracted me when I first read the Mahabharata, that how, what this man is made of, that he did not forget his, that common people, that he is not forgetting the common people. That is the trait of a fair king, that he is becoming the deserving king once again. So, and another thing I should say, that is his outlook to the society, that he is answering to Nahusha when he is asking that who is a true Brahmin. Even to the Yaksha, when he is answering that who is true Brahmin, he is again and again saying that Brahmin is made by the character, not by birth. That was something also attracted me, that at that time, like people nowadays think that the Ramayana and Mahabharata are like that, Brahmins are held and the others are neglected, but it is not like that. We are understanding that from Yudhishthira's answer, and it also shows that did uh, he did maintain this in his rule, like that he preferred the character, not the birth. To held, he held the Brahmins, that people always say that Yudhishthira always held the Brahmins and not the others. But what was Brahmin for him, that he himself is answering twice in the story.
Correct.
So that is another thing that attracted me,
So,
that liberal outlook.
very interesting. I mean, and people actually don't know these things about Yudhishthir, because when they watch TV serials, they see that Yudhishthir, when they are in the exile, Yudhishthir and his four brothers and Draupadi are there, and they show only six people roaming around the jungle. Never they have shown that half of Indraprasth actually followed these guys to the jungle, right? And that is why they needed an Akshay Patra. Otherwise, they could have fed six of them on their own. They did not need an Akshay Patra to feed six people, and all of them were
Yes.
capable and healthy, right? And Bhim was a great cook himself. So, if they show this, then they would show that the people also loved him so much, right? They were ready to forego whatever the life they had built in the Indraprasth or the Hastinapur, and they were ready to follow Yudhishthir in his journey of hardships. And Yudhishthir felt compelled them to help these people. He did not pray to Surya Dev for the Akshay Patra, because he was worried about feeding him or his family. He was worried about feeding all the entourage that basically followed him in the jungle. And that is a very good point that you have made, that when he asked Yaksh, I mean, Dharmaraj, who appeared
Yes,
as Yaksh
disguised.
in front of him, not forget the firewood that the I mean, that was the purpose of them chasing the deer in the first place,
Dear.
right? And then there is another beautiful incident when deers come in his dreams,
Yes,
and then they
yes.
say that you have stayed here too long and this has impacted our population. Can you move away? And then he decides to go away from that place. So he, not only people, he also was compassionate towards animals. And these are the simple things which are so beautifully narrated within the narrative of Mahabharata, but they are never told in various retellings. So people are not even aware of these incidents, and these are the incidents which actually define the character.
Yes,
So sorry.
exactly.
So I actually have this thing that I used to, when in my corporate life, I used to tell people that whenever somebody is coming for an interview, rather than asking him to write an essay on patience, you should check how often he is pressing the button of the elevator when he is coming up, because these are the incidents. I mean, there is no preparation, right? These come matter of factly, so that Yudhishthir's care for other came naturally to him. And I remember I once asked a question on Twitter to you. You might not remember it, that we were writing a series on young Pandavas, and I asked, why would Yudhishthir pick up, I mean, if the Dronacharya had asked all of them to pick up a weapon of their choice, Arjun obviously would pick up the bow and arrow. Bhim picked up Gada, let's say. What would Yudhishthir pick up, right? And Nakul Sadev, we know that they picked up sword, and Yudhishthir picked up javelin, right? And I asked you an answer for that, and you gave me a beautiful answer why he would pick up javelin for himself. I would want our audience also to know about your answer. What would it be? Why would you still pick up the weapon of his choice, and what would it be?
Well, I think I have answered you that thing that for the javelin or spear, that as I explained in my first book as well, that his choice for javelin was due to the simplicity and the straightforwardness of the javelin, because that is the characteristics of Yudhishthira himself also. He is very simple and very straightforward. So javelin is like a very simple, and also another trait of the weapon, that is it is the common people's weapon, the common soldier's weapon.
Correct.
And I have a scene in my first book, that is Korna. Actually, he was also his classmate in Dronacharya's tutorial, and he is actually mocking Yudhishthira for choosing this weapon, which is actually belongs to no royal but the common foot soldier's weapon. So the Kauravas are mocking him for choosing this weapon, and he is answering that it is the common foot soldiers and the guards who actually protect the king. So a future king should not be ashamed to choose their weapon. Why should he be ashamed? And then the guru, the teacher, is supporting him, and he is saying that javelin is your weapon. You stick to it. That will make you a good warrior in future. So that is
So
what I felt the reason is for his choice.
no, it's a very
Because
beautiful reason because and it highlights the character of Yudhishthir very well. That he was always compassionate towards the common people, and he would have become a great king because of this quality of his, and he deserved to be one. And that is what he had. I mean, when he was the Yuvraj, he was very popular. When he became king of Indraprasth, he was yet very popular. So the common people loved him, right?
yes,
And if a person, the character the people have in their mind, if the person would have been of that character, common people would not have loved him and would not have followed him in the jungle. So that is obviously, I mean, the problem in the understanding of people, and one of the reason why this is because most of the character understanding comes through these philosophical conversations, or close, more like philosophical conversations were made, be it with Markandeya Rishi, be it with
yes,
Brihadashva Rishi.
yeah, that's right.
Then there is a conversation with Sri Krishna. Then there are
Yes,
conversations between him and Arjun,
yes,
right? And then later there are conversations with Bhishma. So all these conversations, they why people would have omitted them from their retellings is probably because they would have felt that they would maybe bore the audience. Right. So there is not much action happening when he's talking to Markandeya Rishi or when he's talking to Bredaswa Rishi. There's not much action. Even when he's talking to Yaksh, there's no action happening. Right. There are some 30 to 34 questions that Yaksh asks him and he keeps on answering. And similar with Nahush conversation, there are like 7, 8 questions that Nahush asks, then 3, 4 questions he asks. So all these portions were probably omitted because of this reason. So how you have tackled this problem, how you have basically kept it interesting for your reader while putting this narrative, I mean, while not omitting, because if you omit this, you would not be able to tell about the Yudhishthir's character effectively. And if you keep them, you run the risk of maybe boring your audience.
well, how I managed or tackled it, that you will understand when you will read it, obviously. But this much only I can say, that is, to make it interesting, I tried to connect everything to the other things. So everything in his exile period is connected, somehow it is connected to the Diasol experience. So I tried to connect everything with that part. For example, when that question answer at the famous encounter with the Yaksha is happening, then I tried to relate the question answers with the dice game incident, because I personally feel that when he is answering the questions like what is patience, what is shame, what is ignorance, then he is actually remembering his own past deeds and experience and his past learnings of 12 years that was going on by the several rishis. So that learning and those storytelling sessions were not just storytelling sessions, those were actually his learning sessions. He's
Correct.
asking questions and he's learning from the life of King Nala. He's learning from the lesson of Ramayana. He's learning from Nala and Damanti's story. So he can actually relate to King Nala's story that is very similar to his own life, his own story. So there I have connected it to everything, that when he is hearing the King Nala story, he is actually thinking that, oh, I also have done this, but he did not gamble Damanti when I did this. So I did not know that where to stop. He did know where to stop. So this thing I have to learn from him. He is listening and he is learning. So this learning period is going on by the storytelling sessions, and then at the end of the all the lessons there will be a test. When he is giving the test to his own divine father, then we see that he is actually answering like as if he is remembering the dice roll. When he is answering that, the question was there that what is ignorance. He is answering that the ignorance is not knowing one's duties. I feel like he's actually acknowledging that I did this ignorant work one day. I did not know my duties. I forgot my duties in a heat of moment. I forgot my duties as a king, as a brother, as a husband. So I did an ignorant act, but now I repent for that. I am trying. I know this thing, and now I am correcting myself. So I
And
think these things are related and connected to each other.
no, it's very interesting way to basically make him reflect on his life while he is answering or listening to these great sages or his father as in the form of Yaksha. And it really basically it maybe comes as a flashback to him or something like that, and it would be very interesting to connect those dots and connect those things, like you gave this Nala example, where he not only learned the lesson of him not giving away by gambling away Damayanti, he also learned how to play dice so that
Yes.
if it comes again, he would be well prepared and maybe he would be able to beat Shakuni. uh, so
Yes.
uh, there are some questions coming in. So before I carry on with my set of questions, let me take few questions from our audience. So we all know the lowest moment in Yudhishthir's life, right? What do you think was the peak moment in his life?
Well, the peak moment, I personally feel that is that incident where Kauravas were saved by Gandharvas and he secures the release of them, including their wives.
So was he
So
too forgiving? That is my another question. Because he, right from as a kid, right, when Bhim was poisoned, he and Vidur they basically agreed that they will never talk about it. When they were tried to be burnt alive, they did nothing about it. Then they came back, and then they were put through this entire situation. I mean, there were multiple situations where Duryodhan had shown their true colors to Yudhishthir multiple times. It was not like Duyut Sabha was not something that would have come as a surprise to him. Correct? He would have had some idea in his head, because Duryodhan not only tried to cheat them, Duryodhan literally tried to kill them, right? And on multiple occasions. And had he tried to stop them or had he spoken up, it would have not been that bad a situation, probably, right? At least that's what I feel. So was he too forgiving, and was it a good trait to have?
well, I think it is not exactly what we think as forgiving. It is more than that, and I think that it was somewhere at some point it was his wise move also. Like as you mentioned that the Bhim's poisoning incident. After that, we see that his asking him to keep quiet, and also he's not stopping there. Many serials have shown that he is there, like preaching the shama dharma, and he is saying that shama is a very good thing to do, very great thing to do, you should forgive Duryodhana. But actually in text, did that happen? No. In text, what happened, that is, he is asking him to keep quiet, and then at the next line he is vowing, he is promising with all the four brothers that we will protect ourselves from now on. I will protect you, you will protect me. We will protect each other from now on. So
But
that is why.
then he
Hmm,
forgot about it when he entered the Sabha without his weapons, without his entourage, right? He was in an enemy territory because
hmm,
by then he knew that these are enemies, right? They
hmm.
have been trying to kill him, and Dhritarashtra was not capable of stopping Duryodhan. It was all public knowledge by that time. So he actually forgot that promise. He did not look at protecting them when he put all his family, like all his four brothers and his wife, in an enemy territory without any protection.
Yes, actually, that day was the, as you said, as all of us know, that that is the lowest point of his life, the lowest moment of his life. He forgot everything that day. He was not himself that day. As we know that, as our scriptures correctly say, that gambling is one kind of intoxication. So when you are intoxicated, you lose your senses and you cannot think properly. You cannot, you do many things that you won't be able to do in your natural state. So then at that day he forgot everything. He forgot his promise to his brothers, his promise to his wife, his promise to his subjects also. Right. So at that day, I will say that it was not his day, and during intoxication, he forgot everything.
So,
And
no,
otherwise, he would not.
but
Otherwise, he would not gamble a Nokula fast like that.
yeah, I mean that is the
That.
point because when it came to save
Hmm,
who to save, he
hmm,
picked up Nakula.
yes.
Because he probably loved Nakul more than everybody else, or whatever the reasons. I mean, there is a very beautiful reason which Pranshu had told me once, and it's very interesting. But let's not go towards Nakula at this moment. Because the focus is Yudhishthir. So the question is that after that happened, right? That entire Draupadi episode happened. Dhritarashtra basically got afraid of Draupadi's uproar in the Kurusabha, and he gave away their weapons and everything. And then there was another invitation for another duke immediately afterwards. And after facing what he has faced, why did he agree to it? Could he have refused? And what would have happened? I mean, was it a tactical move, or was it again he was still basically facing within that effect of intoxication that we talked about? Why did he agree to that second gambling session?
Okay. The answer, I think, is given by himself only in Mahabharata. So he is actually saying that I cannot stop their downfall. They are, like, they will be perished, and I can do nothing to stop their destruction. The destruction is now destined, and I can do nothing to stop this anymore. The reason of this, why he is saying so before the second dice game, the reason is, I think, that he actually agreed to accept the invitation of the first dice game, because he was warned by Warishi, because some disaster will happen, and you will be the central cause of that mass destruction. He wanted to prevent that. He did not want the mass destruction, he did not want to be the cause of the mass destruction. That's why he agreed to accept the invitation, and he agreed to play in the first case. But now he says that when they are calling them back again, then he finds that they themselves are inviting their doom, they themselves are inviting their own destruction. Now he is helpless, and it is just a game of destiny, and he is just like the instrument. So he has to go, and he has to accelerate their downfall.
So this
So
incident about Vyasa that you have mentioned, which
yes.
version of Mahabharata it is in? I actually was talking to Ami Ganatra about this. and she could not recall it, and I also could not recall it, at least in Bori critical edition. So I'm sure you have taken 5 years of research, so you would have referred to multiple sources, and that was one of the questions from our audience. What all sources that you have referred to for this research of yours?
Well, so first of all, the Bori critical edition, the uh, KMG, the Kishori Mohan Ganguly version, that one. These two were main sources, and then I have my translated versions like the Bengali translation by Kashiram Das, and then the Hindi one, that Gita Press version. So these ones I have taken help from. These are the main ones, and then the some parts of the this Southern edition, which is available, not fully, because I'm not that good at Sanskrit, so not fully, but some parts of that I have taken help from some of the friends who know Sanskrit, so from them I have taken help. So these are the main sources I have used.
So, a follow-up question, Semanti ji, for the last question, which is again asked by one of the audience members, is why he did not do anything when Kichak tried to insult Draupadi. Because it's basically this Vyas conversation that you talked about. It is not in that context, right? So he's not basically trying to prevent a disaster in Kuru clan or something like that. And he was basically, there was a boon also, right? Dharmraj gave him a boon that for 1 year nobody will recognize you. So he was not too, he should not be too worried about revealing his identity or anything. He basically kept quiet, sitting there doing nothing. And he, in fact, basically gestures even to, well, basically Bhim, to not do anything at that moment. So why would he do that?
Well, the question is coming like that, like people are thinking that Yudhishthira never actually did nothing to save Draupadi. It is not like that. He did his best when he could. He did his best to protect his wife. Like one incident is there in during their exile. That is when Jayadratha came to abduct Draupadi. Then actually made very few notice this, that Yudhishthira also fought and fought against Jayadratha's army. Not only Bhim and Arjun, he also fought, and he tried his best to protect his wife. But when he could, he did that. During the Kichak episode, he could not, because I think he felt helpless, because he feared that their identities might come out, and that was at the end of the near the end of the 13th year, and he did not want to break it. He did not want to take any risk, but because if it was broken, then according to their condition, they have to again start the 12 plus 1 pattern of the exile. So definitely, he did not want to risk it. But one thing I would say, that there are plenty of hints in this episode. In this instant, there are plenty of hints that he is actually giving. When he is telling Draupadi, who is named Malini there, when he is telling that you do not stay here, you go to Queen Sudeshna's room. Why he is telling so? Because he is showing her a safe zone, where he is expecting that Kichak is actually Sudeshna's brother. He should not go there, and he should not assault Draupadi there. He is expecting that Draupadi will be safe there. That's why he is showing the safe place to her. And also, he is giving her a hint, that is, Draupadi was there staying as the wife of 5 Gandharvas, as we know. So he is telling her that your invisible Gandharva husbands have seen what has happened to you. They will fulfill your wish very soon, and they will remove your grief, they will remove your pain, and they will protect you. That means, in one way,
And
he is assuring her. And in the this is actually serving two purposes. One thing is, he is assuring Draupadi that your work will be done. We have seen what has happened. We will take care about this. Another thing is giving hint and permission to him, that you can do whatever needed to do. Because without his permission, Bhim could not do anything. And after this, we see that the usually impatient Bhima is suddenly growing a strategist, suddenly thinking like a strategist, and he is making such a beautiful strategy without risking the revelation, he is making like that we will kill Kichaka, but no one will know. So such a beautiful strategy. I think it is somehow inspired from Yudhishthira's brain.
But I think that if any of the brothers could do something without Yudhishthir's permission, it was Bhim.
Yes.
So that was probably the reason Draupadi went to him.
Yes.
That probably she thought that Yudhishthir may yet do the repeat of what happened in Dyut, and he would ask everyone to keep quiet. So she went to Bhim that now you do something. I don't want to wait 13 years for the revenge or something like that. I don't know, because this is exactly not mentioned in that way. These are the interpretations that you can make. But moving on to the next chapter of Yudhishthir's, the next aspects of Yudhishthir, and this is one of the questions from one of our audience is what are your views on Yudhishthir as a warrior? Because he looks like it looks like that he was very underrated as a warrior in the popular perception. What do you think about it? How good, bad? How was he?
Well, he is very underrated as a warrior. That I agree, but definitely not like the serials show him, or like the people understand or people think about him. It is not like that. Other than killing the king of Madra, he has done some achievements. He has achieved something in the Kurukshetra. Like I would like to mention that is he defeated Duryodhana on the 16th day, as I remember. So that was one thing. Another thing I would say that is his battle with Korna also. One day only, then the 17th day we see that he is getting defeated, but and heavily injured. That is one incident. But the other days we see that he is successfully fighting. So that I think that he is not that low graded warrior as we think
I think
about
he
him.
even countered Dronacharya's Brahmastra.
Yes, Dronacharya
So
Brahmastra,
he
not only the Brahmastra, all the divine weapons, all the Divyastras. Dronacharya
so
actually
he
used.
So I'm saying
Dronacharya
he
actually used
basically
all this.
knew all these. He had the knowledge and he knew how, when, and how to use them. It's just that he was never fighting at the forefront, and that was rightly so because he was the designated king and he needs to be protected from all sides. And that is why he was never fighting at the front of the lines. He would always behind, and that is why he did not demonstrate much of his skills. But if there was a need, he would have. I mean, that's what the hints are given that he was a formidable warrior, and he did face a warrior like Dronacharya and did not deter from him. It's just that one weak moment after the 17th day. What happened? I mean, not after the 17th day, on 17th day, what happened between him and Arjun? Again, do you want to throw some light on that incident?
Which
What does
one?
it tell about Yudhishthir's character? The when he basically asks Arjun to throw away the Gandhi, and then Arjun says, "No, I'll have to kill you," and then Sri Krishna intervenes. What is your interpretation of that incident?
Well, for that you have to wait for the third book.
Wait for the third book.
Well,
I was about to.
I have that incident shown there in detail. Actually, what I think is actually he was very angry at that day because he has just been spared by Korno, and he hated Korno very much. That is one point I would like to mention. He hated Korno very much since the game of dice. So actually his behavior to Draupadi actually made him very angry about him. So that anger was there inside him, and now when that man is like insulting him on the battlefield, he is calling him a coward or something like that, that you are not a kshatriya, you are a brahmin, you are a coward, you are escaping, you are fleeing. So these things actually angered him very much, and that anger actually he poured upon on his own brother. So it happens with us also, like if we are angry with some outsider, then we actually pour out on our brothers or sister or anybody close to us. So that is actually that day Arjuna actually fell in front of him when he was too much angry. So that burst out happens. But after that
So
incident,
we
we see
will.
that everything normalizes, and after that incident, like Yudhishthira also is feeling sorry, Arjuna also is feeling sorry, and they are again happy.
But that conversation is very
Hmm.
interesting, and the solution that Sri Krishna presents to them is again very interesting. And
Yes.
I hope and I wish that it is highlighted in your third book in detail, because it has valuable lessons also for people who want to learn from these books. uh, Coming back, because this we have overreached through the third book territory. Let's come back to the first and second books. And So my next question to you is about, because you are writing this, so it's slight deviation from Yudhishthir per se. It's about rationalization. So when I say rationalization, I mean that when modern retellings happen, when authors try to retell the events from our ancient scriptures, they try to rationalize some of those events, right? Because some of the events which happened in those scriptures may come across magical, or may come across as something that is not possible. How can it be? So, for example, let's say the incident with Nahush. How can a human have a conversation with the ajgar, correct, with a python? So what are your views about this kind of rationalization, or the need for rationalization to adopt it to modern understanding? Or should we not touch that aspect, and should we represent it as it is in the original context?
Well, it depends. It depends on what the author wants to convey. It is totally, I believe, the author's personal choice. But I think I am okay with both the perspectives. Like, if you want to keep the magical parts, like the divine parts, like as it is, then also I am very happy with that. Even I like that. But now I think the trend has changed, and it is like that if we can humanize some parts, like, and without deviating the actual message, if we can rationalize some parts, then it will be more relatable for the modern readers, especially for the young readers. They can connect to it and relate to it even more, and to draw them, their scientific minds, towards our ancient history. I think some rationalization is okay without destroying the message. This I would repeat, that without destroying
So
the message. So if this can be done, then it is okay also.
So another question, related question: how much creative liberty is okay, and where the line should be drawn?
Well, the creative liberty, I think creative liberty is necessary, because when we are retelling, we are reimagining and recreating the story that was told thousand times. So there, the authors, the creators' personality will reflect. So there, the creative liberty will come somehow, but the creative liberty never should deviate the actual message of the epics. That means it should not be like the person who is very devoted to her husband, she should not like someone else. So this should not be la creative liberty. And the person who is very like very kind and truthful in nature, he should not be shown like a very like unkind and ruthless husband. This should not be done. So this
So,
actually
so
happens.
do you have any favorite modern retelling which basically adheres to these boundaries? Because most of the ones that I have come across typically have crossed these boundaries, and not only crossed it, they have like sprinted away from these boundaries. So, have you come across any recent work that has adhered to these boundaries? And that could be, I mean, your work is obviously there, but other than your work, have you come across any other such work?
Yes, I would refer to my editor and writing mentor, Sai Sarupa IRG. Her work on Draupadi and Rukmini these two novels are very true to epic. She has also taken like the creative liberties, and she has also rationalized the some parts, but it has never deviated from the actual scripture. So that is what I liked, and I am very inspired from her writing way, that her way of storytelling, that is, she is following the epics and the scriptures, even then she is doing her own creation. So I wish I could like like her. So that is what I
So
end.
I got a chance to meet her recently. I mean, she was very kind, and she spent some time with me, and we talked a lot about the Mahabharata and what we were trying to do with it in terms of the Sutradhar journey. So very nice interaction we had here at Earth Festival. So going back to few questions from our audience, this is a question. Which I also wanted to ask, and this again relates to the earlier question about him being too forgiving. So what is your view about Yudhishthir's decision to save Duryodhan from Gandharvas? That is something that you have mentioned as one of the peak moments of Yudhishthir. And also, why did he pardon Jayadratha?
Well, so for the first one, that is the to save Kauravas from Gandharvas. That was one thing I would say the peak moment, because that is exactly the reverse moment of that I saw. Actually, he is getting to do all the things they have done, but he is choosing the other thing. Here, two options were there, like, he could have uh, taken inaction, doing nothing when the news is coming that okay they are seized. So he could have chosen inaction, he would do nothing and sit idle in his cottage. Another option was there, that doing the same thing, returning the same thing to them what they have done to his wife. He did nothing. He chose the third option, to release them, to secure their release. Because why? Because I feel that, and he is also saying that, he is also saying the reason, because the women are also captured. So he is showing his enemies that you see that without touching women's honor also enmity can preserve. Enmity can be there without touching enemies women. What you did not know, but I know, and I am showing you that without touching your women, now your women and your are endangered. So I am not violating your honor in this condition. So this is a kind of poetic justice, or you can call it a sweet revenge, like that. So he is actually teaching Duryodhana that you should have done this. You should learn this from me. You have come to belittle me. You have come to show me your prosperity, your wealth, which is actually our prosperity, our wealth. You have come to show off that thing. But you see that where we prosper, where we are superior, we are wealthy in the mentality which you did not have. Right.
And what about Jayadratha?
Okay, so for Jadrat, I will say that I think that he actually loved his sister, his cousin sister, too much. It is my personal interpretation, and maybe Gandhari too. He was very respectful to Gandhari, as we see afterward. Also, he treated her as her own, as his own mother. So that was one thing, and another thing I would say, not exactly the soft corner for the two women about whom he remembered, and the Gandhari and Dushala. Not only that, I would say that it was also a political move, because if this the son-in-law of Kauravas would be killed in the forest by Pandavas, then what will be the outcome of this? What will be thought by the other people when they will hear this? What will be their impression about the Pandavas, that they killed this person and who is a relative of them? Why did they kill them? So that could have been a something that could have gone against them. So he
Very
might have
interesting
thought
point.
about that.
Yeah, very interesting. I never thought about it in this way. This is the first time I am thinking on this point, and when you say it, it makes a lot of sense because it would have been. uh, a bad move for them after, like when they were going for allies, there would be sympathies for Kauravas
Yes.
because of this. I mean, had that Jayadratha been killed in the jungle. Very interesting point. Yes. I would like to add one thing before we move on to the last towards the end of this segment. So the thing is that everybody talks about Yudhishthir not taking any action and says that it shows the weakness of Yudhishthir. My interpretation is that he was the king of the world, right? He just came after Rajsui Yagya. His brothers have conquered the world for him. And he was the king of the world, and his wife was being humiliated in front of him. Reacting at that spot was the easy thing to do, right? Anybody would have reacted. Anybody would have done something, maybe out of impulse, did something which would have harmed them or whatever. He did not react at that moment, and that takes strength. I mean, that takes immense strength. A person who does not have that kind of strength cannot stay quiet in that situation, and that is why many people are not able to relate to this incident, because they try to impose themselves in that position and they say, I can't tolerate this. If it was me, I wouldn't have allowed this to happen. But they forget that what would they have done? They were in an enemy territory. They did not have even their weapons with them, and physical strength, maybe Bhim would have taken on 2 3 people on his own. But after that, what would you do? Nothing. You can't do anything. They were basically cornered, and the wise thing to do was to basically pass that reaction to a later date when they can take the decision. Like choose your battlefield and choose your warriors before you basically jump to a conflict situation. And that is what my interpretation of that incident is. That it rather than showing Yudhishthir's weakness, it shows Yudhishthir's strength. And he did react, right? People say that he did not react. He reacted. It was 13 years later. He did not react then. He prepared for it and he did react. And I'm assuming that would be the reaction would be the part of the third book that you are working on, because the first book was about him, rise of dharma, him becoming the king of Indraprastha. The second book was about the trials of dharma. That is what the topic of our conversation is, Dharmaraj ki tapasya. So that was his tapasya, his hardship that he had to go through. And every time we basically see him during his exile period, he's I mean, if you look at Yudhishthir, he does not express his emotions, right? At least that does not come across from the text when he's in public. But he is very emotional in personal conversations, right? When he's talking one on one with Markandeya Rishi or one on one with anybody, he then expresses. So that also again shows his quality as a king, because a king does not need to demonstrate his emotions to everyone, but he was an emotional person, and that again brought out very beautifully on that 17th day, that
Yes.
you basically expressed that his emotion. Actually, that was one of the rare occasion for Yudhishthir where he publicly expressed his outburst, his anger, or his resentment. And that again is a very interesting aspect that you are planning to cover in the third book. So whoever are watching this, please do read the book, the trilogy. So the two books are already out. The Rise of Dharma was the first book, which is available on Amazon. And then the second book, which has been released on 3rd of March, that is also available on Amazon. That's called the Trials of Dharma. And the links are there in the description. You can click on the and go and purchase the book and read it. And have you any timeline for the third book in mind?
Um, I want to publish it is in this year only because it is almost ready from my side. Now it will go to the editor for being edited, and then as much time is needed for editing, then it will be published soon.
So great. So you guys don't even have to wait too long for the third book. And if you ask my personal opinion, it is very important to understand Yudhishthir as a character, to understand his journey, because if you are looking for heroes, hero like Yudhishthir is a better hero to have than somebody like Karn. And we have to change that perspective. I have seen many people idolizing Karn, or nowadays people are even talking about Ravan and Duryodhan in positive light, which is basically heading towards deep Kalyug, I would say. So if you want to preserve our lives for slightly longer period, uh, change our heroes and find the right heroes. So Yudhishthir is a good hero to have. Then you can learn some part of the dharma. As I said before, also the status of Mahabharat as a dharma granth, the credit goes to a large extent to Yudhishthir, because most of the dharma aspects of the Mahabharat come from various conversations that Yudhishthir has throughout his journey, and this is an important aspect that you all should learn about. So I think I should say thank you to Semanti ji for giving her time, and
Thank you so much.
for writing this beautiful trilogy about Yudhishthir, much needed. And we want more authors to come forward and tell the stories about the right heroes, without taking too much creative liberties, and without trying to get into too much of the fan fiction genre. But great that somebody is doing that, and there are more authors who are picking this kind of work, and we are happy that this revolution is happening and more authors are coming forward. Next in this line, we would be talking to Celia Pillaiji tomorrow. We will talk about Gargi, another remarkable woman from our ancient past. And we recently had Women's Day, so everybody should come and join this and talk about Gargi. She was a woman of knowledge. She was the one who challenged Yagyavalk for a Shastrarth in Raja Janak's court. Not many people could do it. Yagyavalk was a renowned scholar, and everybody would just accept defeat when they hear the name of Yagyavalk, but not Gargi. So let's hear about her tomorrow, 7 p.m., with Celia Pillai, one of the co-authors of the anthology Arya. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you so for writing, and thank you for giving your time.